Greetings and welcome to In-Depth. I'm Dike Rostant. Cabinet approved a range of operational recommendations in the revised operational plan for 26 secondary schools in July 2022. Chief Education Officer, Ministry of Education, Dr. Peter Smith, he joins us to give some sense of the overall rationale and other factors influencing this project. Greetings, Dr. Smith. It has been a while. How are you?
I am fine, thank you. Thank you very much for having us here today.
Always a pleasure. Let's start off what is re-engaging for success?
Okay, so ReEngaging for Success is an initiative by the Ministry of Education designed to address those factors that hinder student performance. Several years ago, we began this discussion with both the primary and secondary schools, and what we saw coming out of some of our research was the existence of certain factors at the community level, at the level of the home, at the school level, as well as individual factors that were hindering students' progress. Hence the title, Re-Engaging. We want to get our students back into that mode for learning. So apart from addressing the factors that hinder, we are also seeking to promote those factors that aid our students in achieving both academically as well as non-academically.
Now, in terms of being able to do that, what are some of those the data sets that you would have got that are helping to inform that strategy? What is it you're working with?
Okay, so we are using multiple sources of data. One of the first sources that's available to us would be results from our various examinations. At the primary school level, we have the secondary entrance assessment. At the secondary level, we have the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate, as well as the CAPE results that are released every year. So the achievement data has been used. In addition to that data, we would have also conducted over the last 2 or 3 years several climate survey studies, from which we would have gathered information from parents, from teachers, from students, as well as administrators, in terms of those factors that have impacted our students negatively in terms of their achievement.
And that kind of leads into the next question. What are those data sets saying? What is the information that you're getting? What is it saying about achievement? What is it saying about what is happening with our students?
Right, so if I may use the re-engagement, one of the areas we examined would have been the level of engagement experienced by our students. And we'd have looked at behavioral engagement, social engagement, as well as cognitive engagement. And we saw in each one of those areas the need for the ministry to do some additional work to ensure that our students are really engaged within the classroom setting. Apart from which, we have also looked at areas such as peer interaction, teacher expectations. We would have looked at even how comfortable students are with their surroundings. So it's at least 14 different factors that we would have gathered additional information from our students, and we would have used that information together with the achievement data to identify the reasons why we may see underperformance in some of our schools.
And if I'm hearing you correctly, Dr. Smith, it seems as though there's a level of triangulation. So yes, there's a hard data in the sense that, okay, well, these are the points or these are the marks that form criteria for passing or showing a level of competency in dealing with a subject, but there are also experiential factors and data sets that you would have taken into consideration. Was the reason for that sort of triangulation towards where it is you want to go?
Right, and you're totally correct when you use the term triangulation there. One of the reasons for that move is when we see low performance in students, in order to address those areas, we need to understand what are the factors behind student performance. And as you did indicate, hence the reason for us looking at those soft areas, what we refer to sometimes background factors. And once we can make that correlation between performance and those background factors, what we can do from then on is that once we see students displaying certain behaviors or they have certain characteristics, those students are sometimes at risk of not fully optimizing the educative process. So following that, what we tend to do is to focus on addressing those factors. And once we address those factors, the achievement follows.
And looking at approaching that achievement, also want to ask though, what are the schools that you would have done this work in? Why those schools specifically?
Right. Again, we would have looked at schools across both primary and secondary. We would have consulted with the Curriculum Planning and Development Division, the School Supervision and Management Division, as well as our Student Support Services Division. So we'd have used their input to identify schools at the primary level and schools at the secondary level where, based on the data, based on the information, we would have identified the need to provide some additional support. And let me state this, we would have used data from at least 4 or 5 years to identify those schools at both the primary level and at the secondary level.
And I'm glad you're saying that, because one of the questions that naturally would spring to mind is where or from when what's the duration of this study? And the pandemic is still a very real thing in terms of the effect that it's had upon learning. The Minister of Education likes to talk about learning loss. Well, I don't know if she likes to talk about it, but that is one of the things that is mentioned from time to time. So do you see a difference in that 4 or 5 year span that you just mentioned before the pandemic, before 2020, and during to where we are now?
Most certainly. We would have begun this research in 2019, July, August, where we had engaged principals of secondary school, and that was being merged at this primary school level. And as was indicated, when we look at the data pre-pandemic, during the pandemic, and as we come out of it, we are definitely seeing that difference. And the Minister is correct. We have seen considerable learning loss in the last couple of years. We await the results from SCA 2023, as well as CSEC and CAPE 2023, to see whether or not we have managed to halt that decline. And we are optimistic that we are on the right road once again towards improving performance at both the primary level and the secondary level.
And with that, we take a short break. We are speaking with a Chief Education Officer, Dr. Peter Smith, looking at ReEngaging, the ReEngaging for Success program. And we continue the conversation when we return. Stay with us. Welcome back. We are speaking with Dr. Peter Smith. We're looking at that ReEngaging for Success. And Dr. Smith, if we had to say, okay, well, these are the main goals, the main objectives, yes, re-engaging, but what are the performance indicators that we're looking to say, okay, well, yes, we are trending in the right direction, we are doing what it is we need to, and this is especially with regard to those, I think it's 14 factors that you said that you would have taken into consideration?
Right, so as indicated, and just let me state, we are looking at 80 primary schools and 26 secondary schools. And some of those indicators would be the level of classroom instruction. We are looking at how students transition from one level of the education system to another. We are also looking at those home-school relations, because as we are aware, during COVID, those relations were hampered or severed a bit, as well as was indicated from the school's climate survey, those 14 other factors, so that the process is ongoing, whereby on a yearly basis, we monitor what's happening within these 80 plus 26 schools.
And how do people impact that? And I ask that so parents, guardians, people in the community, because a school is not just a school. A student is not just a student, but many times there is some of those parts that they interact with. Somebody may get a question wrong because they're gasping. Somebody may get a question wrong because they are thinking about things that are happening in the household. So how is it that we're able to impact the community, thereby impacting the performance of students, Dr. Smith?
Right, so I think the best way to respond or to answer that would be to look at the initiatives that comprise the ReEngaging for Success program. So one of the things we would have realized is that the workload of principals, in some instances, in dealing with the learning loss would be a bit huge. So schools have been provided with learning support assistants who assist principals and teachers with the day-to-day activities of the school and the classroom. In addition, as you just mentioned, we know the challenges that some parents would have faced. We know the challenges that teachers would have faced, and that relationship that was severed. So we have school social workers. So each of those schools have dedicated school social workers who are designed to engage with both the school and the parents. In addition, we have guidance counselors who again would provide that social and emotional support and guidance that our students need at this critical time in their education. In addition, we would have recognized that there was a loss of contact time. And so we have several initiatives, one of which is the after school support education program, whereby we provide additional instruction at no cost to the parents, along with meals, so as to ensure that that additional instruction is provided at both the primary and secondary school level. We have the vacation revision program, and last year we would have introduced the vacation revision program for a period of 4 weeks. This year we have extended that to 5 weeks, and we continue to provide both breakfast and lunch meals to those who will be participating in this venture at the 80 primary schools and the 33 secondary school centers. In addition, we recognize the importance of providing that additional training to our teachers. And so we have many of our teachers currently engaged in remediation math, language arts, and writing at this point in time, all of which will help contribute towards ensuring that not only do we provide the social and emotional environment for learning, but we also ensure that our teachers are retooled, reskilled to deal with those challenges and loss of learning that would have occurred during the pandemic. So we continue to engage both students, teachers, parents, and the wider community as we really work together to ensure that we address those gaps in learning that would have occurred.
And I'm not going to make that correlation between, or use the example of horse to water, Dr. Smith, but it seems as though that while it is a very good idea to be able to build capacity in teachers and that arm of this equation, it seems as though that contact time is extending, is becoming a little more protracted. What was that conversation like with the teachers saying, okay, well, yes, you're going to be spending some more time with the students. Yes, you're going to be spending some more time as students yourself. But this is why you're doing it, and this is the end goal in sight.
Well, I think generally for both the vacation revision program as well as the after-school program, teachers have participated, they are participating in both programs. We do know that there are some challenges, and hence the approach that we have taken is one that is flexible, based on our response or the response last year to the secondary school version. We do expect a high participation rate for this year's program. Already we would have had approximately 1,000 students indicating their willingness to be part of the program, as well as over 200 teachers who have also indicated their willingness to be part of the vacation revision program at the primary level. We are now opening up the process at the secondary level. So I'm certain in a couple of weeks' time, I will be able to give you an update in terms of the actual numbers.
Again, I think you would have spoken to Dr. Smith, but in the minute and a half that we have, just in addition to just closing comments, is there a space for those persons who are in that transition period from primary to secondary? So yes, there's a bit of revision, but there's also a bit of preparing them for that workload, for the syllabus, for the curriculum that will be meeting them in Form 1?
Yes, and you're correct. So apart from the math and language and the writing, we also have our turn-up caravan that will be engaging our students in extracurricular activities, as well as we will have student support services who will provide assistance not just to the students at the school, but also to our parents, so as to help our students, as you rightly indicated, transition from primary to secondary. So when September starts, our term starts, they are able to fully utilize that time within the classroom setting.
And with that, we want to thank you so much, Dr. Peter Smith, Chief Education Officer, the Ministry of Education, looking at how we can be re-engaging for success. And on behalf of the entire TTT News team, I'm Dike Rostant. This has been In Depth with me. Thank you so much for joining us.